What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Battle Balls podcast. We back. We back in the 843.
Yes. Well, it's been this is the normal setting. Back to the original spot.
Actually, the original spot was over there.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was wearing my For God So Loved Coastal hat and my Langston College shirt because that was the night we were kicking off college midweek for the semester of the fall.
Well,
I'm sentimental.
my 1 year's coming up. What are we doing
Like,
for that?
us,
How
like,
is
meeting?
how's the church celebrating me?
Oh, Let's see here. I think that day. What is it? April
24th, I think, was the first time I came here.
April 24th. So what? Let me see what Sunday that aligns with. That falls on a Thursday, so nothing.
Oh,
Absolutely nothing.
great. You know,
Because why?
Because why?
I'm just leaving now and going to the Catholic Church.
You say that once a week.
One day I'm going to be serious, and you're going to be like, "Where's Colton?"
No, he's actually
mean,
the
like,
priest.
He's in the
I'll be
middle of
going
mass.
around my
He's in the middle of mass.
what's the
Rosary.
rosary.
Yeah.
All Hail Mary.
Hail Marys.
Are you on your phone during the podcast?
No.
That's crazy.
I don't stop being a pastor. I was texting our kids director. And you guys want to see it?
9 times out of 10, you're not doing like your job.
What if I pulled it up and it was like an app where I was just like playing with like basketball or something?
Speaking of basketball is on right now.
March Madness is happening as we are recording.
Let's look at some scores.
It'll be Duke and Florida in the national title game, with Duke taking it 82-77.
Duke is losing to Alabama. Roll Tide.
The Sky only likes them because of their mascot, an elephant. Speaking of Alabama, we're heading to Bama in just a couple of weeks to see some familiar faces that y'all saw just last week's episode. So that's going to be a fun little trip, little podcast that we're doing there.
I'm taking time away from my mom being down here to go serve the Lord. So
Okay.
you're welcome.
Okay.
You don't have to go.
No, I'm going.
Sorry, Mom. He's making this decision, not me. I just asked
I
you
felt
to go.
bad for you, so I was like, sure, I'd go.
Yeah, I didn't want to be stuck with this clown. For
This guy wasn't even going to begin with.
That's true. That's true. We'll change your opinion,
Fair
Carson.
Yeah,
TJ,
tell us.
TJ never told me about this.
Tell us why you're going.
You have. I know. All right. Show me a text, and or a time where you told me this. I thought about this because I know he always joked about it, but I was looking back on it. I was like, TJ never told me about some. I didn't even know the name of it. Whatever this thing
Yeah,
is called that we're going to.
I just told you, I was like, do you guys want to come to Bama with me?
You've never.
And then
told me
I
that.
know I brought it up. I said it's during the week. You said, oh, I got close.
You never told me that.
No,
prior to
you
say-
had, you had a purpose.
No, you never said
We're
it.
not-
You never said it prior to the LA trip. So LA trip was the first time hearing it. So therefore, hearing it for the first time in LA, that's when I decided.
I'm
to go.
calling cap. But it's voice to mouth, so like I can't prove it to you. You just have to believe me.
And you have to believe that you didn't do that.
I object.
Yeah.
Ladies, calm down.
Here at the end of the day, he is going. Now.
In the end of the day, I'm
It would
going
have just been me and KT.
Tell us why.
Why he's going?
because it's a college event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good answer.
Yes.
I'm here to
Yes.
learn more and grow in the college.
You haven't been to
ministry.
Bama, have you?
I've never been to Bama.
Yeah. So new city.
I've been to Alabama once, and I'm looking to make this one a better trip
Okay.
with better people.
Okay. Man, you were just like so hostile towards some.
Well, if you think for a second,
Yeah, but it's still like love your enemies, bro.
I like
Do better. Do better. Let's end this podcast right here.
This is standing ovation. Box off, mic drop.
We actually get like 1 million views. Yeah, we actually average that. Anyways, so if you guys are wondering who I've been talking to over here on this couch, it's Carson
instead of
Hucks.
being-
But he was just on the pod last week, so familiar face for you. We're going to recap our trip, our mission trip to Los Angeles, California. So much of a journey. Is the vlog
No,
Done?
not even started yet.
No.
It's not going to be really like a finished product either, right?
on,
Because
We ended it
we did.
at the airport.
Oh,
Well, Hope and Ashley ended it.
Oh, word. Okay. Well, then one day you'll see that.
But I think it's gonna be like 2 parts because it's very long.
Yeah. I think
a lot.
so like the whole premise of this episode then is going to be what? Like us recapping, but also kind of
I don't know. Why don't we just stop the podcast altogether and just go home?
see you guys later.
Yeah.
Yeah, just talking about.
But also, like, why is it so important to, like, especially, like, if a believer's watching this, like, why is it so important? Because there are so many believers that just, their Christianity consists of them sitting in a pew on Sundays, giving tithes in the offering plate,
they don't even do
and
that.
calling that Christianity.
They don't
It
even
depends.
do that.
It depends on the Christian.
They actually take the money out.
I personally think that we fall into such a rhythm of doing the same thing over and over again. So it's like I go to church because I've always done this, but it's not an identity that they are holding on to.
It's like the people who say, I've always been a Christian.
Always been a Christian.
I've always grown up as a Christian.
Yes.
You haven't.
You grew up with values that align with Christianity, but you never professed Jesus as Lord. It's a heart change. It has to take place. There has to be change in your life. And so when anybody comes to you and they're like, I was born this way, congratulations. So was everybody else. But the thing is, we were born sinners. That's it. Sin reigns. And so what do? Oh, no, I can't do enough. So what do? Bam, put my faith into Christ, who conquered death, hell, and the grave. And now I can live
He's on
for
another
something
one
greater
Yeah.
than myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still have ash in my lungs.
Okay. Well, let's start with the basics. What was our travel like getting there?
Oh, brother. Okay, so I felt like I was the travel agent of
You were
the trip.
Shout out.
Yeah.
I was the one who booked the flights and stuff. And everything was going so smoothly
We got to the airport
until
on
the day.
time. Yeah.
The day of. I get to PJ's house because we're riding from PJ's house to the airport, and I start getting notifications on my phone of 5-minute delayed flight for 5 minutes. Another text, delayed for 5 more minutes. And it was just like for an hour this went on, but it only delayed for maybe like 40 minutes at max. And I was like, oh, that's fine. We're still going to get there the normal time. We'll just have a longer wait. And then it gets delayed a lot more and a lot more again. And
I like this is
there,
not good. I went over. I was reading my Bible somewhere, and this guy's calling me. He's like, "You need to come over to the desk now."
Yeah, well, it got to the point where I was like, we're getting delayed so much that our connection
We're not going to make it.
Nashville to LA, we're going to miss it. And I was like, as soon as someone comes up to that Southwest desk, I'm bolting up there to talk to them. And I see this poor woman. I was like, she's going to hate me. She just logs into her computer. I said, excuse me, ma'am, I don't mean to bombard you. And she says, mm-hmm. I was like, no, really, I don't mean to, but we're about to miss our connection flight because of this flight. And she was so nice, very helpful.
Shout out to Southwest.
Yes.
And do you remember her name?
It's her. It wasn't Carol.
She works in Myrtle Beach though, and she is awesome.
Yes. She rebooked us. We were originally going to stay in Nashville overnight and then take a early flight to LA, and that wasn't going to work either.
Well, we
And-
would have got there in the afternoon the next day, and we
Yeah.
would have missed like what we were supposed to do for Friday.
And then PJ looked up the hotel that they were going to put us in. And I said, absolutely not. So we were like, we need to get as far west as we can.
Yes.
So we were going to go to Dallas then, and then that
I thought it was Denver.
originally Dallas. That was no longer an option because that was missed then as well. And then it was going to be Denver. And then
But then Denver didn't make sense for some reason. So then
we ended
Las
up going
Vegas.
to
That was Vegas.
the best airport I've ever been in.
Oh, that was tragic.
If anybody from the Vegas airport is watching this, please
Find a
please.
different job. You should be fired.
Well, not that.
Get your alarm
I
systems
think
in check.
the alarm system. I think though the seats that have the armrests on every single chair, that was my problem. I just wanted to lay down for a little bit.
Oh, I did. I had my legs. The chairs look like this. If you're watching,
But not as comfy as these.
right? So I had to put like one leg. I was straddling it. The bar was like up my crotch, and then I had to like put my head through this bar, and I was laying in there. And then at 3 in the morning, we hear
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please?
And there's like sirens going off, and
That was the most annoying part.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
well,
just a-
it was 30 minutes straight of it. So we're in Vegas. Of course, there's slot machines in the airport. They're going around and like exchanging the money or taking the money out and cleaning out the slot machines for 30 minutes of this siren and loud noises. Never again will I. But I think the most fun part about Vegas was the book bag scandal, or the suitcase,
Oh, yeah, the suitcase.
I like my suitcase.
which we talked about last week. Sarah and her suitcase.
Oh,
somehow
yeah,
I
we
got
did tell that one.
blamed.
It was-
I got blamed for Sarah's suitcase not making it out the plane. Now, where?
You and Sarah on this trip were a hoot.
I think she needs to
Yeah.
have like her one-on-one time on the camera. Like, that's what we should have done. I would have loved to done like,
Interviews.
you know, those Bachelor thing or the reality TV shows where they go in a room
Oh yeah.
and
they
the
just-
camera's just there and you just like let it all out. I want one for Sarah so she can go and be like, I'm gonna kill this kid.
She'd probably be on America's Most Wanted.
It's like, I've always wanted a big brother, but you know, now I'm second guessing it.
Yeah, but L.A. It's so easy to look at a city like that and think like that sounds more like a vacation. But
I did not think this was gonna be a vacation in LA.
it is a city that I fell in love with, and fell in love with the abiding church. Actually, like what Pastor Trenton is doing out there right now. He had no desire whatsoever to move to Los Angeles. Then his family, like he was on top of what's the place called?
What do you mean?
Oh, the observatory.
The observatory.
Perfect.
Was overlooking the entire city, and was like, you know what, this is where God needs to have my family. Packed up, moves his whole family out there, and the demographic that he's reaching is so cool because it's outside what we would think in the Bible Belt, which is what I think I loved the most. Is that these conversations we were going to have, you just never knew what you were going to walk into. Hucks, you were out there for 2 spring breaks now and a whole summer. So like what drew you? Like what was the big thing for you? Like why would you tell somebody to go on a mission trip out there?
I think it's just because it's just such a big city. Like there's so much to find, so much to seek when trying to serve the Lord. Like there's people you can always find and talk to. There's with the abiding, there's always work that needs to be done. Like if you're going and you have a servant heart or servant attitude, it's like it's very easy to find. Of course, you have to be willing to serve, but like it's so easy to find a place to serve. Right?
What was it like being out there that when you came back home to where you've lived here your whole life in South Carolina, and so what does it do for you, like, or to a believer, like to go on a mission trip like that and then bring that back to where you are normally like placed in your life?
To be honest, it feels kind of weird.
Really?
Like when I first went on the first spring break trip, when I came back home, I was like, I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I was ready to go somewhere else. I was ready to do something.
Yeah.
But then you just had to get back to the routine of being at home. So it feels kind of weird. But really when I stayed 6 weeks in the summer, coming back from that was a big thing where it's like, it felt weird being home, but it also felt at peace knowing everything I did in LA and all that I learned, I could still put to use here at home. So just like finding a balance of still wanting to be on mission to serve, but also understanding God puts you in places that aren't usually, or like He puts you in places that aren't going to be some big mission field. He's going to keep you wherever you need to be. So I think just keeping that same
mentality.
Yeah.
Do you think going on a trip like equipped you better for like
Oh yeah.
the mission you have here?
Oh yeah. It just opens your eyes to like the love of God in general, I think. And then like obviously with the love of God, you can use that for all aspects of life.
Yeah.
But I think it really does just open your eyes.
I respect that. What's your thought? This is your first mission trip too. I mean, I don't want to exclude you from this conversation. What do you, for you, like, you went, you're back home. What are you thinking?
I mean, that's a loaded question.
I mean, we've got more time than a few minutes.
I'll just say, like, we talked about this last night at church, but I've never been to California whatsoever. But working in politics, you always have, like, this perception of California, because anytime we talk about California on the right side of the aisle, it's usually in, like, a very negative aspect. I mean, rightfully so. The government over there is corrupt and sucks, and the policies are horrible. But you never really talk about the beauty of California. And I never really knew that there was a beauty to California. And I thought the people before I went, I thought the people were just going to be like the typical New Yorkers, Washington, D.C. type mentality. And going over there, as soon as we landed, I was just kind of in awe of just the beauty of the state, number one. I mean, the mountains were just incredible. Like, if you could just go to California just to see that, like, I would do that. But the people there, I never had, like, one bad experience with anyone. I said last night I've met meaner people here in Conway, South Carolina than I did out in L.A. But everything was just so, well, minus the city itself, was just so clean. I mean, prices and stuff were through the roof, but beautiful and clean, and the people are great. But on the mission side of it, when I first started talking about I was going on a mission trip, and people were like, oh, where to? And I was like, LA. They're like, why? And I think people forget that people in America still need Jesus just as much as people in Africa and South America. So just being able to see what God can do in a place like LA, especially through the Abiding Church. I mean, I've never been in a worship service where I've just felt so moved. Just like, it's so small, yet so powerful. And we were talking about this as soon as it was over. We're like, can we do this again? Like, Trenton, you don't even need to come up and speak. Let's just have worship again.
Yeah.
But just being able to see how God can move in a small place like that, but it's having such great impact around it is wild to me.
Yeah.
So coming back to this it wasn't like sad to come back, but like you get hungry for more, I think.
Yeah, I think it reminds you too of what we have. And I'm not saying like California versus South Carolina as far as like poverty levels. I'm more or less looking at it from the aspect of like you come to church here, and we're a bigger church, but like everything's already in place. Like, we're not having to come here at 6 a.m. and set up, tear down, all that jazz. Like, being there,
worrying about paying rent.
Yes, like we are well equipped, and that's like there's no negativity towards that, because we have a mission here. We want to build up and send out missionaries from this church to go to places like this or reach other areas of where we are right now. And so for me, it's always like that concept of like getting outside of my normal demographic just does something to the heart posture that you have. It reminds you of your gratitude. It reminds you of how humble you need to be. And it reminds us that like we have so much more, not even just in America, but like where we live, than the person down the street from us. Like it is insane to me how we nitpick and we get into like the little things, and it causes division amongst Christians, like the ones that are called to be united more than anybody else. And so the Abiding, what they're doing, like they even have people serving, and Trent would tell you this, like that maybe don't follow Jesus, but they're like they're seekers. They're like I want to be around these people that know God, because I've never been more filled in my life. And so I think for me, the Abiding is a beautiful example of what the gospel is. I think they're a beautiful example, exemplify the church so well. And I'm thankful we get to partner with them. I'm thankful for our church here and what we have, what we're doing, and the fact that we get to reach a campus right down the road from us where people, like you said, need Jesus. And I think we've talked about this too. Like, it's so easy here to just say, "Oh, I go to church."
Oh yeah.
You know, that's the identity, is you're a churchgoer. Yeah. And so it's much easier to put on a mask. And why do people move to LA? Why do people move to New York City? Well, they want to live that lifestyle where, like they want to put on a mask, but in a different manner. They want to put on a mask because they want to be well liked. They want to be, they want the status. They want to make something for themselves. And what does Jesus say? He calls us to lose it all, to lose everything. And so what a gift. And we could sit around and talk about that, but for others, like selling that in a way of like, hey, lose your life so you can find it. That is radical in every way, shape, and form, but also what I'm trying to get at is like mission trips like this, not even just to LA, but like mission trips we'll continue to do something in your heart that both gets you outside your normal context where you're reaching a different demographic, but also it encourages you to come back and continue fueling that fire that's burning inside of you. And I believe the Lord uses those things. And he tells us in Acts 1:8 to reach Samaria, Judea, Jerusalem, and the ends of the earth. And so why wouldn't we?
Dude. Thought you were going to follow up with a question for Carson.
Oh.
Last week, did we talk about the ash out on?
Did we even do it at that point yet?
I don't know. I don't remember what we talked about.
We did the ash out on Saturday. And so we definitely would have shot the podcast, I think, Saturday night. I think Friday we probably would have been like...
That's right. I remember Ashley talking about they found something, part of a book.
Yeah.
And was reading about it.
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, what was your favorite part of, like, the mission trip itself?
It'd probably be, I think, like, my overall favorite part was just being back in LA.
That's fair.
Like, seeing all the places that I basically lived there for 6 weeks. So just seeing all the places we went there daily over the summer, and then, like, walking throughout Pasadena. I love Pasadena.
My gosh, it was gorgeous.
Walking through Pasadena, just being back at the abiding. I think that was one of my favorite things. But, like, mission, like, work-related was probably the ash out. Both days, really. I mean, just, like, I kind of talked about it, just, like, kind of putting the destruction of the house, like, an aspect of, like, your own life.
Yeah.
And, like, that being kind of like a wake-up call where it's like, all right, what do I need to do before this happens to me? And it's kind of just like, because you never know when it's going to happen. So just having, like, a wake-up call to the plan God has for you.
Yeah. I think it's kind of ironic and funny. When we were doing the ash out, Ashley and I kept finding all of this fine china, and it was just like untouched. Everything on top of it was just like broken rubble, but this fine china was underneath it, untouched, unscratched. And we found like sets upon sets of plates, bowls, just big dishes and stuff. And I turned one of them over, and the set was called Chanticleer. And I was like, what are the odds? What are the odds that the Coastal Carolina team came out here and we're finding all of this stuff, and it's called Chanticleer? I was just like, wow. Look at God.
I really think, like, God is sovereign in these things. Like, if you're ever questioning, like, should I go on that mission trip? I think you, like, especially if you have the means to do it, or you don't have the means, like, but, like, you have a church that'll support you and like, kind of just help get you there, do it. Because even if we did nothing else, one conversation was had between one of our students and a woman on the train that we rode, and we strategically went on this train to share the gospel, to just have conversations with people, get to know them, ask them, if they had a belief of some sort, and then, Lord willing, open a door to share the gospel. And through getting to know this woman, Eden was able to lead her to the Lord. And I think in that, like, that one conversation has eternal impact now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when we focus on the things that matter, it changes your perspective, and it takes it off of yourself, where it's like, what is the Lord going to teach me on this trip? What is the Lord going to do through me? Man, maybe nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody now has eternity with Jesus because of a conversation, because we were willing to say, hey, we'll go to LA at this time frame on this very day on this train, and we're going to watch the Lord move, because it's not even about Eden. It's about the Lord and what He's done. And I think that for me, that's one of my biggest like takeaways, because it's just like, that's so cool that God like strategically places people in the right spot at the right time.
And she said that too herself, the girl.
Yes, she said, I believe God put you on this train.
Yeah.
And like I would have lost it if I heard it.
Well, because she was about ready to take her life, is what she said.
Yeah.
She was at rock bottom, and she felt God placed her here at the right moment in time. I just want to know if the parrots got saved.
The what?
The parrots. She had parrots
Oh.
on the train with her.
Oh.
There's parrots.
Yeah, she had a cage with parrot. Well, some kind of bird. I think it was parrot.
I always wanted a parrot.
Could you imagine?
Of course, TJ wanted a parrot.
Ah! What would he say? What would he say? He went, ah!
Peanut butter.
Oh, man. How many times do we eat Raising Cane's?
Too many.
6? 5?
Too many that your face.
5.
out.
Yeah, my face from all the...
fried chicken.
5 straight days we went to Raising Cane's, and I wouldn't change anything about it. It wasn't always dinner, though. It was sometimes a snack.
Someone got sick on the trip.
I'm not going to name names, Coleton.
Yep.
The guy.
The guy who was
Sure,
chugging.
immunity shots.
Chugging.
In my
immunity
defense,
shots.
in my defense, I totally do not believe it was like a sickness as like a
Nobody was
virus
wearing masks during the
or
energy.
anything. I truly believe it was the ashes. And when we were setting up the church on Sunday, they brought out this rug that looks like what kind of like this is, and it was nothing but dust in there. And they just went, and it was all right in my face. And David just looked at me and was like, and I was like just covered head to toe in just dust.
And you had a sore throat.
Right. As soon as that happened, I started sneezing and coughing, and then I think it was just congestion. So I don't think it was a sickness. So I think the immunity shots helped prevent a sickness out of it.
We got home that day, and I think this man slept from...
Yeah, I did not participate in the evangelism because, number one, I couldn't even get through a full sentence without my throat like...
Yeah, but then we got home that night, and you like didn't even come down for dinner. Like
Yeah,
you knocked
went
out. That was the day before we left. So there's a lot to see in California, though. If you haven't been, I would recommend it.
Donald Trump star is out there.
Yeah, like
Yep,
that's
Hollywood
like
Walk of
that's what you're
Fame.
worried about.
I mean, that was probably the most important part of the whole trip.
You know, what is it about the star that you find so fascinating?
The
His
poet
name on
says
it?
Donald Trump.
Donald
So
Trump.
if I draw his name on a piece of paper,
I'll be like,
yeah, he'd probably take a picture with it.
what movie was he in?
Home Alone. He told Kevin where to go in the hotel.
Yeah. Yes. That's one of our core sayings from the trip, brought to you by Carson Hucks. I think you definitely started it.
Yes.
I was trying to think. No, because Ashley was talking to me about it. Like, I said it, and then her and Hope, they said it when they were, like, on one of their trips, and she was like, did he just say that? And then everyone just started saying
What,
yes.
yes?
Yeah, like, that's like
That's where I've heard you say it, though, just in normal conversation. You're like, yes.
something to say yes
With the
about.
finger, too. Like,
It's
yes.
just something to say yes about.
The stars are actually really stupid.
I know.
Hollywood
I just want to see
Hollywood is
Trump's.
overrated.
Hollywood is overrated.
Yes. I just want to see Trump's because it's.
It's fun to go.
Batman
you got,
has one.
You got to go to
Oh my
Hollywood
gosh,
once.
I know. I was dragged there by
Bryce.
to be his photographer to find the Batman
Dude,
star.
on that photo circle, it's like just a whole section of Bryce just on the ground next to a Batman star.
And as we're walking there, he's like, "Thank you so much, Colton, for coming with me. I'm just so excited to see Batman star." I'm like,
Oh, he was
"Get
excited
your
all week.
hands off."
He was excited all week,
Yeah, he was
every day. Are we going to Hollywood?
to see the Batman star.
Yeah. Why would you guys tell somebody to go on a mission trip?
It's fulfilling. I mean, selfishly, it's fulfilling. Well, I don't even think that's selfish, but I said last night, like, I've done all these different things in politics, but nothing's filled me the way that this mission trip has filled me. Whether it's just being with all of you guys or just going to help someone else in need. I love serving. I love giving up my time. to go and help others, and just seeing like the joy in their face that don't even know Christ.
Yeah.
And you can just plant that little seed, and who knows, maybe a couple years down the road, they reach out to you and they're like, hey, it all started here.
Yeah.
So just planting little seeds like that, I think that's well worth it. But it just builds your own soul up.
Yes, and I think on that note, I truly believe, because like you're so used to your same setting. Sometimes it takes a trip like this to fuel that drive to come back home and say like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing like consistently in my life. Like we turn the light switch on and off for Christianity almost, but it's not a light switch. Like it's a lifestyle. So
That was good.
yeah, it's not a light switch, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
What did you drink today?
Put that on a shirt.
Like the gears.
Conway Nutrition.
The gears are
and that's
turning up
what
there.
this is brought to you by.
Oh,
Shout
Not
out
yet.
to Ben.
nice. Yeah.
We're still waiting.
What?
Ben. Waiting for the contract, Ben.
Carson, why would you tell somebody to go on a mission trip?
Matthew 28.
Hey.
Verse 20. No, well, I mean, yes,
Go.
but
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, yeah.
it says it in the Bible.
Yeah.
But
Because Jesus told me to.
yep. No, but I think I don't really know. You kind of just need to go.
Go to see.
Just do
taste
it.
and see.
Yeah, like you just go. You're just
Oh,
I don't know how to like. There's not really a way I could fully describe what a mission trip would be. I think it's having faith in the Lord that you're called to a place to go serve Him. It's having just trust in the Lord that He will be with you and showing you things that you don't know, you didn't expect or you didn't think you would see. And it's also just loving the Lord enough to realize you know the gospel and you need to be able to share that with people that don't know it.
Yeah. And every mission trip would be different too.
yes.
Like depending on where you're going, what you're doing. I think a lot of people think like a mission trip has to be like a set thing. Like
Hey,
I
we're
mean,
gonna
Guatemala is gonna be totally different than Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
but both have a purpose.
Right.
Like the Southern Baptists, they do Beach Reach, and that's one of their biggest ones, where they pick up college kids who are spring breaking in Florida, and they will give them rides because they're intoxicated. They'll feed them breakfast, but they'll also get to have conversations. Like,
Do they remember the conversation?
they don't always pick them up like when they're hungover. They'll pick up or they'll sleep overnight, and we'll be like, "Hey, we have a pancake breakfast for you," and they'll come in and students will just sit with them and have because college students are the best people at reaching college students. I kid you not. Like the mission field for you, like if you're no matter where you are, like that is a mission field. Like that is your Jerusalem. That's your immediate context. And so college students, like your campus and those around you, like there are people that need the gospel. And so if I have the cure to cancer, I don't want to just be like, oh, Coleton's sick. I'm not gonna use mine. Like this is mine. No, like you have to share it. You share it with those that think differently than you. It's almost like Samaria. The Jewish and the the Jews and the Samaritans did not get along, but Jesus called the Jews to go into Samaria to reach them. And so it's going to sometimes be people that think differently than you. But at the end of the day, like you are not your own. And so you got to think on a mission trip, what is this about? Is this about me, or is this about something greater than myself? What are you about to say?
The government has a cure to cancer, and they're gatekeeping it. So
That's you got like 1 million.
ask anyone; they'll tell you they know the government has a cure to cancer.
Yeah, but I don't like. Okay, what is that going to do for me when I ask them? Yeah, they do. Okay.
Well, don't
You
you
may
think
call the
it's
government?
Don't
Don't
you
you
think
think
it's
it'd
a
be
little
good for them to-
upsetting that they have the cure and
If they
people are
do,
dying?
yeah.
It's
If
not
they
if
do.
they do. They
If
do.
they do, yeah.
There's no if. It's they do.
How can you say that without a shadow of a doubt?
Yeah,
Why?
because the government's corrupt and they lie, and I know it
Okay.
deep down.
So
in my heart.
that's the same thing I would say about talking to him about going to Alabama because he's corrupt and he's a liar. I said
wow,
it.
that's crazy.
That's
That
what
is
you're
wild.
saying.
That's a crazy accusation.
That's a crazy accusation,
Accusations.
though.
False
Um,
accusations.
Wait. What fruits has he shown of corruption and lying?
He's like,
Because I can give you a list for the government.
He's like, I've been waiting for this moment.
JFK. Did y'all see that?
It's all over my Twitter.
Yeah, the CIA.
So they killed him?
I mean, we all knew this.
Yeah. Wait, so it's like confirmed?
I mean, if you dig deep enough, yeah, you can make the connections. But it doesn't
Maybe you dig
explicitly.
deep enough, you can find aliens to be real or
No,
not.
they're not.
Well, my mother seems to think so.
That's the one thing Kim and I disagree on, shockingly.
I know. I disagree with her as well. But anyways,
You disagree.
she's gonna be like,
Fine.
"Did you say something about me on the podcast?" She
When
didn't
I get a
watch these.
Google notification that my name's been mentioned on the Battle Belongs podcast, Kim Cuba. What a woman.
Oh, wow.
She is. She birthed me and 3 wonderful sisters of mine.
Possibly me as well. We're not.
There are some connections that were like, "What's going on here?"
We never even talked. Did
Possibly.
we talk about that on the podcast?
I don't know. Probably not.
So
We just discovered it like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, so I go over to PJ's parents' house for lunch after church, and his dad's mom. So both of his grandmothers live there. Both the mom's mom and the dad's mom live at the house. And I didn't know your dad's mom lived there. I thought it was just Tutu. So all of a sudden, this older lady comes out and she's like, "Hey, nice to meet you." And PJ says, he's a Yankee. I was like, "I'm not a Yankee. I'm south of the border." And she says, "How far south?" And I said, "Maryland." She says, "Oh, I had relatives in Cumberland, Maryland." And I was like, "Huh?" That's where I'm from, Cumberland. And Cumberland's not a big area in the state. And she was like, "Oh, yeah, he went to Allegheny High School." And I was like, "What?" That's where I went to high school. My whole family went to high school. Well, it turns out he didn't go there. He coached football there. And she was like, "Yeah, I think he was a teacher there too." And I was like, "Oh." So I started doing all this like research into it. And Mom goes home and she opens up Nana and Pops' yearbooks. Here he's the Nana and Pops' guidance counselor at Allegheny. And there's just like, wow, God. Look at God.
Look at him.
What are the odds that I come down here in the long story of how I got to Langston, become friends with you, and then I find out that your great-grandfather coached football at my high school and was Nana and Pops' guidance counselor?
He also went to Pitt.
Yeah, we'll forgive him for that. And he, played for the Eagles?
Yeah. Yeah, he lost in the
Forgive him
Rose
for
Bowl
that,
to USC. And then he played for Philly. I think we have his contract,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's like he made like $100 a game
per game.
Yeah,
That's when life in America was probably great.
I mean, I don't know.
There's
wasn't
no
there.
reason they should be making this much money.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. But we're feeding into it. I mean, it's like they're
Exactly, that's
like,
why I
This
don't
guy
watch it.
just said he couldn't go to the mission trip as a football season.
Wow, called out.
can't
on
confirm
the
that.
I, as a witness, I
Witness.
confirm that.
that's false witness.
He's
I
still,
mean,
it's football season.
he's not wrong. West Virginia plays Pitt that week, so I can't.
I
miss
would,
that.
that would be This is sad to say. Like that's America in a nutshell. Like it would be.
What would it take?
Inconvenient.
Me
to us.
sacrificing
What would it
a
take for-
football season.
Yeah, what would it take for you to sacrifice a full football season? Can't watch a single game.
What would it take? I don't know. Like if God was like, I'm sending you here for 6 months, like no entertainment whatsoever, I'm like, okay, Lord, like, but like the
No.
sad thing is like that's a tough thing for me. Like that's the sad reality.
at home,
Huh?
for you not being sent anywhere, but
Look,
you're
he's
still
doing
here.
what you do.
You're grabbing the mic.
Do you know what that sounds like?
So I have to stay here. Stop touching it. I have to stay here, and I can't like have my phone or my TV.
Well, no,
or
you can
anything.
still have your phone, but you
Bro,
can't.
I'm gonna check. Then the scores are on there.
Yeah, but you can't like sit down and spend the full day just watching football. What would it take?
It wouldn't probably take much. I'm always running around.
A full season.
What would you offer me? What's the offering?
I don't know. I just want you to lose an idol when you're on.
A raising
Oh.
canes and
Oh, that's another idol.
Raising,
you know,
raising.
everything I enjoy. People are like, that's an idol. What is an idol biblically?
You over enjoy it.
Huh?
Oh,
What? You over enjoy it. That's your
I
problem.
over enjoy anything that I have. Like, I literally like if I enjoy something, like I'm not just enjoying it. Like I am loving it.
Yeah, you do go all in.
Yeah, I'm all in for
Respect.
Jesus.
Well,
There's some days.
every other day.
No, I want to be a Monday morning. I want to have a Monday morning faith and not be a Sunday morning Christian.
Wow, sounds like join Cuba.
Yeah, my wife
I
says.
saw that on an Instagram post somewhere.
That's on ChatGPT, baby.
Is that where you got your sermon from last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually a good one.
Thanks.
It was good.
I saw that clock and I was like, "Oh, time to get rolling."
You're getting quick there for a minute.
You never gave us like a time frame.
I know. I thought about that as I'm talking to you.
And then you insulted us twice. Me
I
twice.
insulted you twice.
Everyone
Called you a
else just
woman.
once.
God, you.
I should have been like, question number 1, Colton. What is a woman?
Well,
What is
how much
it?
time do we have? Because it only takes 5 seconds. So
I bet you the church would be like, yes.
Amen.
the guy in the back.
Yep.
A female. Says it in Genesis, church.
Period.
Good.
Period.
And then you said we took up way too much time.
Yeah.
Again, no time limit. Did I sound arrogant? Because I was really trying not to when I was talking about like the political things. Because that was like the whole point was.
No, I would tell you if you sounded arrogant.
Okay, thanks.
I would have been like, oh, listen to this guy, church. I mean, glad
It's like-
glad your money's going to something.
The whole point was to show that like
I've seen
I've done all these great, or not great things, but cool things, but nothing compared to doing something for the Lord.
So, I thought I had a question that, like, to
How did we
wrap
get
this
here?
up. This whole podcast has been bang, 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 bang.
But I think it was a good one.
Yes.
Yes.
Final thoughts. Carson, actually, I do have one question for you, and then we'll close.
Jordan's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, they can't close the podcast again."
Yeah. No, we're gonna close this well, honey.
Honey.
You were somebody that like did not want to step outside your own comfort zone. You're more of a like you're introverted in nature,
Yeah.
and so like how would you encourage somebody that has that same mentality when it comes to doing something like living on mission, being bold for Jesus? What would be your encouragement to them?
Pray about it.
Touche.
That's honestly that's why every day, like either on mission or like at school, I would just pray for like boldness. But I think also like it's like I'm always more introverted and I don't really step out, but like I'll still get a thought where it's like, what if I did just go out and do this? So I think it's kind of just like obviously think about what you do first, but like having the mindset of like when you think about going out and doing something, you actually just go and do it. And I think that was like kind of what got me to where I'm kind of at today. Like with the first mission trip at last spring break, I didn't really even like debate with myself on going on the trip. I remember it was BCM, and David said, "Hey, we're going on this mission trip to spring break. If you want to, sign up." And I was just sitting there, and I just told myself, I was like, "I'm gonna go do that." It was like I didn't really like question myself. I was like, from that moment, I was just like, "All right, I guess I'll do it."
So it's more or less just like just take the step.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point because like a lot of us, especially after you graduate college, when you have a career and stuff, you're like, you have a routine, a day-to-day basis, and you talk about like letting time for interruptions. I think that's a good point to just be free.
Yeah, I think college students are the greatest missionaries for that reason. Like, there's not your life's just gonna get busier.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, like every step you do. Like if you're like, I'll do this like later. That's like people with Christianity. They're like, I'll figure this out later. No, you won't.
Dies in a car wreck that night.
I didn't say that.
Could happen.
Could, but you know, very morbid.
Well,
I was thinking more along the lines of just like, you become lazy, you fall into a routine in a sin cycle.
yeah, but they could also die and
They could.
miss glory. Today's the day of salvation, guys.
It is.
Take every day, every minute and opportunity. I had a whole speech lined up for you last night.
Jesus is coming back one day.
For me,
Not like a speech, but your question, the second question, I was going to hype you up. But then I was like, nah, we're going to waste too much time here.
I'm not gonna do that.
you're gonna
Because I think your question was, what is one piece of advice for the church to be ascending culture and living on mission?
yeah.
And the first part of it all is having a college pastor who grasps the concept of living on mission and college students living on mission. So I was going to hype you up and be like, y'all, you're blessed to have a pastor like this who gets it and understands it and wants to live it. But then I was like,
Nah.
nah, I ain't going to say all that. Thank you.
And
Oh,
like the thing is,
I
like
mean,
it's not limited
sure.
to college students either. Like anybody can go on mission.
I know. I actually know more people back home in Maryland who are older that go on mission than younger people.
Yeah, yeah. Your nana and pops are probably.
They're not going. They are currently in the Gulf of America right now watching baseball.
Hey, good for them though. They're retired.
Yep.
They
So,
are living life.
So that is this week's episode of The Battle Belongs. I am excited for the next couple episodes that we're going to be doing. You don't know. I might not even know, but you
I
could
sure
stay
as heck doesn't
tuned.
know.
You could stay tuned and find out more. If you haven't yet, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, and
Instagram.
Instagram, or Apple Podcasts, I'm sorry. Instagram. And, yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
You're so close.
Yeah.